There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. And that's why I am on the trail of a Nephilim. The Genesis 6 narrative states that the Nephilim are on the earth in those days and also afterwards. If that's true, can we find evidence that corroborates this? I'm L.A. Marzulli. Join me as we go on the trail of a Nephilim. I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Today we go back in time several years ago, certainly before the fire, 2018, where I visited Cahokia for the first time. And I'm engaged with a docent there. And watch this clip, because we go back and forth, back and forth. Bottom line is, and I'm not going to give it away, but listen to what he says. Listen very carefully, because I ask him some very tough questions. And at the end of this, of course, I will weigh in. But before we get into all this, first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Before trying anti-aging serums or wrinkle creams, check if you're getting enough collagen first. Collagen is a protein that plays a crucial role in maintaining the health and elasticity of our skin. Without it, we may notice visible signs of aging, like fine lines and wrinkles. While collagen production naturally declines as we age, certain collagen supplements can help bring back a youthful glow like you wouldn't believe. This is why I highly recommend taking collagen. Collagen is specially formulated to enhance skin elasticity and hydration. It's made with the top 5 most powerful types of collagen that are essential for skin health, elasticity, and firmness. Folks, with only 10 grams of bioactive collagen peptides per serving, collagen is designed to make it easy to boost your collagen levels to support healthier skin. Try it today and receive 53% off, free shipping, free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life. What a great deal. And also a free new e-report titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin and a 60-day money-back guarantee. So folks, if you don't see it working, they'll give you your money back. Plus, you'll also help feed a hungry child, families and communities in need of healthier lives with your order through BioTrust partnership with NoKidsHungry.org. What a great company. Check it out today. Go to healthwithla.com, healthwithla.com, or please click the link right below here in our description box.
Cahokia, this is Cahokia around 1200 AD. There were 120 mounds. There were as many as 20,000 people that were living here. The city was about 6 square miles or 4,000 acres. It was the center of a metropolis. Not only did we have Cahokia, the city of Cahokia, with its 20,000 or so people, and of course estimates are all over the place, but most archaeologists say 15 to 20, and 20 is a bigger number, so that's what I say. In addition to the city of Cahokia, there were as many as 50 suburbs, satellite communities. Some of those were quite large. The St. Louis site had about 26 mounds. The East St. Louis site, which was right across the river, had about 50 mounds. And then, of course, Cahokia had 120 mounds. Cahokia had trade routes that went from the Gulf of Mexico up as far as Great Lakes, and from the eastern seaboard at least as far west as Oklahoma. Some scholars say we were maybe farther west than that, but where we can find actual artifacts to prove that Oklahoma was as far west as we went. Among other artifacts you'll see in the back are shark's teeth, which there are no sharks in the Mississippi River. They came from the eastern seaboard, I believe. They excavated in the late 1960s, early 1970s. That's back when they still excavated burial mounds. And they found about 300 burials in Mound 72. The most interesting was a gentleman who was buried on a blanket shaped like a falcon. It had 20,000 beads that were made from seashells from the Gulf of Mexico.
Very important person then.
Very important person.
Were the other people buried with him? Were they ritualistically killed?
Some of them. There was one individual buried underneath him. Up until last year, I would have said that was a man. They're now saying it was probably a woman buried underneath him.
Was the skeleton larger than normal, or didn't
No,
they say?
they were just normal.
Was there any DNA testing done on the skeleton?
They have. The skeletons have been so badly deteriorated that they have not been able to obtain DNA. However, I have heard just recently they've managed to extract some from the teeth. They haven't done anything with it yet. Currently, I'll go off track a little bit here. Currently, because of the DNA, we don't know what modern tribes are descendants of the people that built the mounds. However, most scholars lean toward a group of 5 tribes. It's the Quapaw, Osage, Kansas, Omaha, and Ponca. They speak the Daejeon dialect of Sioux, the Sioux language. They have a common legends that say they came from this area. They have symbols and everything that seem to rely back to this area. Most scholars, I think, if pressed right now, would say it was probably the Daejeon Sioux. Maybe in a couple of years.
But they really don't know.
We really don't know.
Okay,
we
so
really
let me just back up here.
Mhm.
So we really don't know who, in fact, built
built the mounds.
the mounds.
We don't.
We have no clue. So even the date of 1200 AD
Mhm.
may be off by 1,000 years.
Probably not 1,000. What I generally tell people is if I give you a date, figure plus or minus 50 years. You know, some places they have been able to do radiocarbon dating.
Okay.
Mainly it's just been between artifacts and
Sure.
and how deep they've gone. They believe the first villages here,
Is there any theory as to why they?
and once again I'm giving you dates, were probably around 700 AD. By 900 there were maybe a couple thousand people here. About 1050 is when the population really began to explode, so that by 1200 there were 20,000 people, maybe 20,000 people. By 1400 there was nobody here. The site had been
So the
abandoned.
site had been abandoned. Any reason why?
A lot of theories.
I'm sure. Sort of
Um,
like the Anasazi, the same type thing.
what's interesting is the timelines are real similar on the Cahokia and the Anasazi. And Anasazi, they talk about drought. You have evidence that maybe we had a long period where it was cooler and much drier. So it could have been climate change. There's also speculation about environmental damage.
But the fact is, just like the Anasazi, no one really knows.
No one really knows.
And there's
that.
theories abound.
There are a whole
Can
lot
I
of
borrow your
different
pointer? And I want to turn the camera over to my wife. Hold it like that.
Is this
So I want to get this. So my question to you is,
Where did we build up?
theories.
Yes.
You got a beat on it.
so here is Monk's Mound. This is obviously
Yeah, but
laid
that's
out
right.
very precisely.
Very precise.
Now you got
North, south, east, west.
Okay. Having been to
I just see why you
Teotihuacan
want
in
to
Mexico,
high areas.
this would be the pyramid of the sun. This would be the pyramid of the moon, according to archaeologists.
Okay.
Is there any?
Well, I think we better make a way.
Where is north? I'm assuming that way is north.
This way.
Okay, so this is north, south, east, and west, this way. So, what is the relationship of this mound here to this mound here, or don't they know?
We don't really know. It's interesting. You talk about the sun and the moon. We clearly know there were solar references here.
Right.
They are just now beginning to speculate about some lunar orientation.
Lunar orientation.
Yes.
Are you aware that in the Octagon Mound in Ohio, the Octagon Mound is based on an 18.6 lunar cycle?
Yes,
And
exactly.
they're saying this here?
Exactly.
Another-
Not necessarily here.
Okay,
go ahead.
one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
That not only is the lunar cycle applied to the Octagon Mound in Newark, Ohio, it's also applied to Stonehenge in New Hampshire. America's Stonehenge in New
I
Hampshire.
didn't know about
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a site about 13 miles east of here known as Emerald Mound, and it's not a thing that's open to the public. In fact, they're trying very hard to save it because the state owns the mound itself, but the surrounding is farmland.
Okay.
They're beginning to have erosion problems, and they're starting to terrace the area, and so they're working as hard as they can to excavate before that's lost. However, there is clearly an Emerald Mound orientations towards the major lunar solstice. And there's some speculation about here, but I'm not sure I buy it. You kind of have to jump through some mental hoops to...
Let me ask you something, and let me borrow
Okay.
and go back over here
Okay, you might have
to
You
the.
might, there we go.
Now this is Monk's Mound.
This is Monk's
Of course, erroneously named, just like the Hopewell and everything else. We don't know what they call it.
Right. I can tell you something interesting about Monk's
Okay,
Mound.
let me ask the question first. We look at the geometry here, the precise mathematical structure of
Yes.
this. Here we have a people that we can assume have no knowledge of mathematics, have no knowledge of engineering, have no knowledge of solar alignment, solstices, whatever, don't keep track of this. These are supposed to be impermanent people, and yet we see something that completely defies this.
They were not.
They were not primitive at all. So again,
Everything you just said is wrong.
that's my point. That's my point.
They had mathematics,
So-
they had engineering.
Where does it come from? Where does the mathematics come from?
I have no idea.
Let me ask that again.
I
So where did this knowledge,
I don't
when
know.
there's no pre-existing culture, this is what the mystery to me is, there's no pre-existing culture before this.
You don't want to miss that. by
Okay,
the way.
we'll go
we
in.
run it every
Let me just
half
ask
hour.
this real quick.
We run it every half hour, so
Okay.
if you miss this one.
All right. So my question to you is, and I'm not trying to put you on the
Sure.
spot, but there's no pre-existing culture before Cahokia, and yet we see advanced mathematics, knowledge of the solar system, just rise up from out of nowhere. And that begs the question, where does it come from? We don't have, the West, in Europe, doesn't have this geometry till, come on.
I
So,
don't know.
Any answer to that?
I don't have an answer to that, but I can make it even more difficult. for
Okay,
you.
good.
Poverty Point, which is in northern Louisiana, has some of those orientations. Poverty Point goes back to 1600 BC. It actually there's an older mound site, Watkins Break, which is also in northern Louisiana. It's on private ground. Poverty Point just became a United Nations Heritage Site. Watkins Break goes back to 3400 BC.
Wow.
And Poverty Point goes
In
back to
Louisiana.
In Louisiana, it goes back to 1600 BC. So those are the oldest mound sites, known mound sites in the United
Thanks
States.
for coming on the record, Gary. We're going to. So there you have it. And to me, the smoking gun was when I asked this gentleman, and he was great. He came on camera, and he told us his truth, what he believes. But what is the truth of the matter? And when I asked him, there's no pre-existing culture, and then all this just pops up out of nowhere. How is it possible? He had no answer for that. It's a smoking gun, in my opinion. Cahokia is a very deep, deep, deep mystery. In mound number 72, there were ritualistic human sacrifice done. Heads were decapitated, hands were decapitated. People were struck with a war club. So that's let's say I'm right-handed. I'm hitting you in the head and killing you. So your left side of your skull blows out. We saw exactly the same type of thing in Peru. Where does this come from? Why human sacrifice at Cahokia? Where does this mysterious culture, they don't even know what these people call themselves. They just use the term Cahokia, just like Hopewell and Adena, and the overarching is the Mississippian, because it's right next to the Mississippi. I understand all that. The bottom line is, where does this culture really come from? Where does the knowledge come from? Where does it originate from? Anyway, folks, that's about it. Don't forget, we've got our 5 DVD box set we are shipping. You can go to lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. It's also up on streaming, but this is great because it helps keep the lights on here. I can't say that enough. We've been asking for donations. Why? Because if we were selling 20,000 DVDs every time we came out with one, we wouldn't need to do that, but we don't. We sell between 5 and 10, which covers our expenses and keeps the lights going, and we thank you for your patronage. The big question is, why isn't this box set in every Christian home in America? Because Christians need to understand what's going on. We are the only series, 5-part series, and 6, 7, 8, and 9 are in production. Okay, 6 is in post-production. It's on cattle mutilations. I tried to get it out by the end of June. Very dark film, very difficult to work on. More than likely sometime in July, but we are working on it on a daily basis. So lamarzulli.net, help us out. Spread the word. Buy a couple of these things and give them to your pastor. Your pastor needs to understand that this is the great delusion, the strong delusion, the coming great deception. At the end of this month, I will be at the Go Therefore conference in Ohio. Hope to see you there. Vicki Joy Anderson, our very own Vicki Joy Anderson, will be speaking about sleep paralysis, her wonderful book, They Only Come Out at Night. Derek and Sharon Gilbert will be there. Dr. Michael Lake will be there. So it's just going to be great, and I hope to see you there. I'm speaking, they got me at the end of the day, so I have an open end, and I, of course, will be talking about the burgeoning UFO phenomena, because it's real, and it's certainly not going away. Anyway, folks, that's all the time I have for Cahokia, right? If you've got ancient artifacts that came out of there that your family may own, or you've got pictures of some of the grave sites that were opened up in the turn of the last century, shoot me an email, la@lamarzulli.net. Thanks for watching. Remember, folks, there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why we are on the trail of the NEPHILIM.